Today's conversation is with George Friday, my Delta Psi, my St. Anthony Hall fraternity sister of 40 years this spring. More on that in a minute. We're calling this episode Making the Revolution Between Starshine and Clay. The Starshine and Clay phrase refers to a line in a Lucille Clifton poem, Won't You Celebrate With Me? We're also discussing Langston Hughes' Let America Be America Again and Nikki Giovanni's Revolutionary Dreams. For maximum effect, please pull those up on your phone or monitor to follow along as George gives her powerful readings of each poem. Because of my background in philosophy and the esoteric, the image of space between Starshine and Clay immediately evokes Neoplatonic imagery, the poles and the path of the mystic between the cosmic plane and the mortal coil. There is always a connection between the Starshine and Clay for the Neoplatonist, though the models can differ from thinker to thinker. The Neoplatonist Plotinus believed that the body is on the mortal coil, the clay, but the soul has not descended with it. On the other hand, Iamblichus, my guy, believed that the soul did indeed descend with the body, and that it's constantly sending out sonar pings of a sort back to its cosmic home, the Starshine, to inform the body. For Lucille Clifton, there was no model to be a black woman in the United States. She must make it up on the bridge between the Starshine and the clay, and she calls us to quote-unquote celebrate, to honor, to co-create with her. How did we get to Lucille Clifton and her poem? When I approached George about doing an episode together, I asked her what sort of topics she would like to explore. She responded with whatever it takes to survive white supremacy with your mind and soul mostly intact. She also mentioned the topics of rage and grief. She wanted to do a Langston Hughes poem. In the middle of our conversation, she came up with a third. After reading her guidance, I remembered listening to another conversation George had on another podcast, Agitated, with the topic being Kill Whitey, meaning to kill off white supremacy. I suggested the title of the episode be George Friday's Bug-Out Bag for the White Supremacist Apocalypse, 2 Poems for Survival. George had an issue with the concept of bugging out, pointing out that there is no place to bug out to. The white supremacism in the United States is ubiquitous. One highlight, and this whole conversation is one highlight after another, is George sharing her anxious feelings about airports, citadels of white privilege, reified on a grand scale. As we got to Langston Hughes' Let America Be America Again, we discussed the unflagging patriotism of Langston Hughes, and I reflected back into the conversation some passages from Nikole Hannah-Jones' essay that she wrote for the 1619 Project, which echoed the same indefatigable patriotism of African Americans. As I mentioned, George introduced Nikki Giovanni's poem, Revolutionary Dreams, and we got to sussing out what revolution might mean for us as Americans in the present moment. Eschewing violence, even towards the most obnoxious, George presented a 3-part work order for the revolution. 1, getting to the root causes of oppression. 2, working on shared solutions. 3, sharing power. All of that work reflects back to Lucille Clifton's call to celebrate, to honor and celebrate each other's humanity and worth. And as Americans, we should not be afraid of revolution. Rather, we should gravitate towards it, embrace it. For it is our shared heritage, as Nikole Hannah-Jones and Langston Hughes so eloquently remind us. There was indeed a war between the 13 British North American colonies and Great Britain, and then there was the concurrent American Revolution. What we should remember and internalize is that the revolution is ongoing. The American Revolution was born, as historian Bernard Bailyn explained in his 1967 classic, The Ideological Origins of the American Revolution, as an ongoing affair to challenge power, corrupt power. It stands to reason that those who have lost the most, from whom so much has been taken, people of color, the African American, the Hispanic, the Native American, and as also checked in the Langston Hughes poem, the poor white, that those would be the people most deeply invested in seeing the fulfillment of the promise of the American Revolution. For the most part, those are the people who fight and die in our wars. At St. Anthony Hall, or just the Hall as we brothers and sisters called it, the members perform what are known as literary duties, LDs, at our weekly meetings. And at our UNC Chapel Hill chapter, those LDs were rich indeed. Plenty of poetry, short stories, photography, paintings, group finger painting, whatever 20 to 40 creatives might come up with. And we were always richer for sharing, richer for the opportunity to present in a supportive environment. We were celebrating. We were quite literally walled off from the rest of the world for a couple of hours. It was all magical and exhilarating for a child of the western North Carolina mountains. And now the walls for George and myself are all down. So here is our LD, our literary duty for anyone who wants to listen, our co-created Making the Revolution between Starshine and Clay. There is explicit language in this episode, so you'll want to crank up the volume. This is John DeVille, and I am the Mountain Philosopher. Today's episode, Making the Revolution between Starshine and Clay, with special guest George Friday.
Well, one thing that's for real, John DeVille, is you can't bug out from white supremacy because the motherfucking shit is everywhere. There is no better definition of the word ubiquitous than white supremacy. I mean, it's in the grains of sand on the beach, bruh, and trying to unveil it, dismantle it, transform it, which is possible. It's so elusive for white people, I just don't even understand it.
It's so what for white people?
To think about it. Elusive.
Elusive.
Yes. It just feels like the sand on the beach in their fingers. I guess maybe that, I'm not as practiced at thinking about the why of things, John DeVille, because some time back, and this is on the resiliency side, I think I know more about surviving white supremacy without being homicidal or suicidal than I do about bugging out and being able to escape this shit, which is not really possible except for tiny bits of time where you can surround yourself in a setting where you're unlikely to be harassed or, arrested or killed, and you can chill. These are not sustained periods of time. These are moments, and they are special and beautiful, but just so hard. And to be in a relationship with folks who, it's like there's, when people used to talk about having a veil over your eyes.
Right.
My grandmother talked about children that were born with, there's a word for it. It's not a veil. And it's probably just something that happens with the placenta but back in the day when midwives and superstition was bigger, people would think this particular child born with their eyes covered or obscured in some way had some particularly special purpose in life or perspective of the world.
Because the eyes were somewhat concealed was part of the metaphorical understanding or interpretation. Was it that there was a special vision or visionary?
Yeah, like they would have some kind of deeper or special vision, or it might depend on the reputation of the family where the child was. They would never be able to have clear vision. They were either cursed or blessed, depending on how it was seen.
Okay.
Most of the stories of that sort I got from my great-grandma, not my grandma, because my great-grandma was the closest to the witch woman in the family. We don't have any more. I'm the closest the family has now, and there's not really anybody to pass anything on to. So that's a bummer.
Well, do you want to start with the with Lucille Clifton poem and see where that goes? Because I dug that poem a lot.
Okay.
So
I don't want to completely ignore Langston because.
Oh, I'm not. I know. I don't want to either because the Langston Hughes poem was is casting a far more inclusive, broader spectrum, more hopeful net. Now that might be Pollyanna shit.
Really?
Oh, well, I mean, Lucille Clifton's poem is strictly about a black woman, right?
Hope in it.
You don't see hope in it?
I see purpose and rage. Like, the last line about it definitely will be. It's like, I am not giving up on this. You owe me this, and you better become this. And there's not a threat, but when I read it as, you owe me this, and you better get your shit together. So there's rage in that. In Lucille's, it's celebratory, and just the tiniest bit of, I don't even think it's real rage, but it is, that every day.
Do you want to read that one?
Just say air day. I won't say air day.
You want to read that one?
Won't you celebrate with me what I've shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay. My one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. Woo! Failed, motherfuckers. Every day. Not today, though. Not tomorrow. I'm in a very safe place. I'm in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, listening to crickets.
What do you
I love what she says here. There's parts of that feel very real and connected to me in my life. But I still think the thing that really describes how I look at the world and what I hope I bring to the world is revolutionary dreams. You know what I'm talking about?
Revolutionary dreams.
Nikki Giovanni. Trying to look for it. I know it pretty much by heart, but am older. And I think partly because revolution is so important to me, even the concept of revolution, radical. Radical meaning root and root cause, and revolution meaning a complete transformation of what is. So do you know Revolutionary Dreams by Nikki Giovanni?
I do not. I do not. That's all brand new to me.
You were a Saint A before me, right?
I was a what before you?
A Delta Psi member.
Yeah. For I think a semester.
Okay. Well, you could have missed this.
Spring of '81. I think you're fall of '81.
I think more spring of '82.
Okay, and that might be right.
All right. So I did this when I was younger, because when I was 12, I wonder what year she wrote this.
What Lucille Clifton? Or
this is Nikki Giovanni, which I'm going to read to you now.
Okay, all right.
After I tell you when I found it, and I can try to figure out online as I'm looking at it when she wrote it, but I do not know, cannot tell. But I was 12 when I read it. I was visiting cousins in New York State, northern part near Buffalo, not that far from Buffalo. And when I read it, I went, yes. So it's not that long. I used to dream militant dreams of taking over America to show these white folks how it should be done. I used to dream radical dreams of blowing everyone away with my perceptive powers of correct analysis. I even used to think I'd be the one to stop the riot and negotiate the peace. Then I awoke and dug. And if I dreamed natural dreams of being a natural woman, doing what a woman does when she's natural, I would have a revolution. So that's what's up, bro.
So what is it about a woman being in a natural state that makes a woman a revolutionary agent?
Because a woman in her natural state does negotiate the peace, does stop the riot, does blow people away with her perceptive powers of correct analysis, and does show these white folks how it should be done.
And so the correct analysis, that razor like incisiveness, that's the revolutionary agency?
It's part of the method of implementation. So yes, that is part of the agency. It's not alone because none of us do it alone. That's the element that's brought from those of us who see ourselves as revolutionary women. It's hard to remain natural when you're dealing with economic and social oppression and poverty and all kinds of stuff that makes it hard to even function and breathe and not be insane. Oh, yeah, that's white supremacy. That's what that is.
If we're talking about, I mean, you drop the word revolution in almost any circle. I mean, I think to me it plays out as almost some sort of fantasy in one arena, and then in another arena it plays out as something that is absolutely terrifying. So
right.
I mean,
like when I say kill Whitey.
Yeah, right. And what George is referencing when she says kill Whitey is to kill white supremacy. She's not talking about picking up an AK-47 and spraying bullets at white-skinned people.
Human beings, never.
No.
Even if they're white supremacists. God bless them.
And I think that I mean, it could be way off base and probably am, but if we're going to drop the word revolution, and I think in a white supremacist world that comes across as terrifying to white people because it's a projection because of all the violence visited upon people of color on this continent for 400 or 500 years, then if people of color are talking about revolution, then that must be it must be talking about some sort of violence towards us. But you're not. But that's not what you're talking about. So what is the revolution? If it's not spraying bullets,
it's systemic. It's from the root. It's radical. So it addresses the root cause. It addresses white supremacy at its core. So how do we undo what's happened with white supremacy? One method is reparations. So when it comes to who's incarcerated, people who've been incarcerated for decades on something very, very small, make sure they have housing, make sure they have education, make sure there's health care. Not that it's just for descendants of enslaved Africans, for everyone, because everyone dealing with economic oppression and marginalization because of who they are and where they live, the color of their skin, the size of their paycheck, the accent that they have, that is a revolution to honor the dignity and humanity of every one of those people. That's the revolution. And it's not about black or white or Democrat or Republican. It's about what is our shared agreements for being on the planet together and sharing power together. And truly having conversations about what does it look like to share power? What is in the way for you? Because yes, all the white people have to deal with their white supremacy. All the BIPOC folks have to deal with all of the ingrained lies and self-destruction and harm that white supremacy has done, and misogyny and homophobia and heterosexism, all poison. So we got a detox, and the detox might look different, but if we're doing it together and during the time of that detox, we have real, authentic, ethical conversations about what do we create instead of this toxic system that serves our needs. We don't need billions of dollars in weapons. We don't need tons of police to make sure we're safe. We don't need to worry about our borders. We need to worry about our planet, our children, and each other. And let's talk about that for a minute. And in the meantime, we don't have, then you don't have to worry about killing each other or be killed because we're being real, natural.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to add. I want to riff off.
It's very what's the word? So I've talked like this before in settings. I'm a founder of Move to Amend, and we used to have these conversations. And on occasion, someone would say the word feasible, and I'd grab them by the throat. I wouldn't really, John DeVille. I've never grabbed anybody by the throat except metaphorically. And I would in that setting because you talk about what's realistic and feasible, like folks talk about reparations. Well, we can't pay for that. You better shut up when you look at the size of the military budget, when you look at how much money Lockheed Martin or Raytheon get, sit down somewhere. Don't be worried about money. We can pay for anything we want to do because we have as much money as we need to have. And if we don't, we make some more. And yes, I know what inflation is. We can figure it all out. We're brilliant. No problem. There's nothing that's too ambitious at all. We're America, damn it.
Well, to extend the feasible comment, I mean, I think what the purpose of the feasible question is to drown the revolution in a crib, is to kill it in a crib. Oh, yeah. Don't let it grow. We're not going to let it get out of the crib unless there's 5 gigabytes of Excel sheets of analysis.
Yep. Look at Build Back Better. Talk about not being willing to go out a little bit to make sure some people might have a temporary social safety net. Just, where's our generosity, David? I'm sorry, Bill.
Well, the middle name's David. The middle name's David, so it works. Oh, so let me take two ideas and let me see if I've got it on the right track here and seeing if I'm shading in Lucille Clifton's sentiments accurately. So you said the word, I think, honor. To come together to honor each other, to honor possibility of revolution. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And humanity. You got to see our humanity in each other. So that's something people don't necessarily have.
So the first thing I looked up when you sent me the poem, because there's there's so much rich imagery in it, but the first thing that hit me is the word celebrate. So I looked up celebrate, and so it comes from Latin, which then moves into late Middle English, and it means to honor, and the two most used definitions: to acknowledge a significant or happy day or event with a social gathering or enjoyable activity. They were celebrating their wedding anniversary at the restaurant. But then it's the second one. So that's the more everyday, the secular, the profane. And then there's the sacred definition: to perform a religious ceremony publicly and duly, in particular officiate at the Eucharist, the celebrated Holy Communion. So we get together and we celebrate each other's humanity. We get together and we celebrate, we honor possibility. We get together and say it's feasible because we're going to honor each other. And I want to come back again to Lucille Clifton here, because another fragment that just I thought was overwhelming was, what have I shaped into a kind of life I had no model? The revolution has no model. The revolution, you can't go to Barnes and Noble and buy the handbook. There's not a YouTube video. It is going to be a case of making it up as we go. And as Lucille,
between Starshine and Clay.
That's right. And what that is to me is this, between Starshine and Clay, is that's a Neoplatonic image, that there is a connection between the mortal coil, the everyday, and the cosmic. And it's not one way, it's dialectical. It moves back and forth. What's the cosmic? How do I ascend to the cosmic? How does the cosmic come back down and influence and hold us all together in celebration here in the clay? One hand holding tight, my other hand, come celebrate with me that every day. And yes, as we move forward with a revolution, something is going to try to kill possibly the participants, certainly going to try to kill the concept, certainly going to try to kill the idea. And how do we keep each other alive? How do you keep the idea alive? With constant celebration, with constant honoring of humanity. And the recognition, the acknowledgement is that, we're making it up. And we'll be better probably at making it up tomorrow. There'll be a lot of false starts. There's a lot of dead ends. But that doesn't mean that you don't get together and you honor it. Not every Eucharist is perfect. Not every wedding is perfect. Not every celebration goes according to plan. There are, to use Bob Ross's phrase, there are happy accidents. and, an occasional cataclysm along the way. So I'll stop there.
I like that take on it. It makes perfect sense and will help me influence the next time I read it, because I read it often. Sort of one of those guiding pieces of my work and days and life.
Well, that actually takes me to, I didn't do too much prep, but I did some. So, I asked George to do an interview, and she sent me 2 poems. That's interesting. She sent me 2 poems. What did these poems, what do they mean for her? But then the other question is, how does she use them? Does she, how often and how does she return to them as some sort of affirmation? And so, do you want to talk a little bit about, a daily, weekly, monthly ritual practice to maintain sanity, to stay focused on what do you want to stay focused on and not be overwhelmed with rage or grief or any other negative emotion?
I would pause at just finding them as negative emotions, because all emotions have a purpose. So I don't know if they are necessarily. They're hard.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But who knows? And the rituals that I do have changed over the years. Some of the most effective were in my younger years. They were connected to my cycle, a monthly cycle, and it was about letting go of everything that month that was hard and painful, and preparing for a new beginning, a new time of taking, because the thing about letting go of shit is that there's going to be more coming. So, when people say, I'm going to do this great cleanse, or I'm going to rid myself of this particular kind of thinking, negative thoughts. Well, that's a wonderful practice, but you better do it on a regular basis, because there's more coming. And that's true of our work, especially the work for revolution, because yes, we have this win and this victory. Let's celebrate this victory. But somebody's about to kick our asses at the door right now. So you got to do that too. I haven't become adept at continuing the ritual and staying in motion, which I think younger activists may have to do as civilization crumbles and the planet dies. I don't know another word to say it. I'm not good at that. So good thing that I'll be gone in 20 or 30 years or so. I wouldn't be able to keep up. I think of the work for me, and sometimes I get to do this with groups, as a direction of cycles: north, east, south, and west. Okay. So this is the most regular, this is the part of the ritual that's been there since forever, since, I was taught it from my great-great. Okay. So the north is the frozen north. And things are stuck. They don't really move. And if they move or change, they change slowly. What's great about the north is also frozen tundra you can see for miles. So let's say I want to do planning for 5 years or whatever. I try to start that planning from the frozen north place. What do I want to see? How far can I see ahead? And what's the obstacle in the way? That's the north. And then on the east is the spring, something emerging from the beginning roots and are deep, but you've got these little petals just poking their heads out. What is it I'm trying to bring into being? Based on what I saw in the frozen north and what might be the obstacles, what do I now want to bring into reality? What do I want to manifest? What do I want to make sure lives and is sustained? And also, what relationships will I need to do that? And then I look to the south and the fall and the burn of autumn. What do I need to get rid of? Based on where I was in the north and obstacles that could be in the way, what I want to manifest from the east in the spring, when I look at the fall, what do I need? What can I let go of? What do I need to just make sure it's gone and set that aside, knowing that it has to burn? But also, what am I harvesting? Because the fall is about harvest. So if I go deep into the earth during that south And what do I pull up? What gems are they that I can bring to the surface? What lessons? What beautiful, beautiful resources do I have that I can use to help create what in the East I said I want to give birth to? And then last is the West, which is the summer. And then I take what needs to be burned, because you don't just immediately burn it when you go, oh, I need to get rid of this in my life. So you take some time to think about, okay, what am I really going to burn? Sometimes that's relationships. Sometimes that's a way of being. Sometimes that's a practice that is no longer serving you, but you've been doing it so long it's comfortable. So then in the West, you burn it. Burn what needs to get going, and you get some speed going. The visualization I use when I'm looking at the West is lava going down a mountain, burning everything in its path very, very fast, so that anything that's hard or harsh or painful in the burn is at least quick. And now, after looking at what I wanted to manifest in the East, what I needed to bring up from the roots going deep into the earth in the South, and what I needed to burn in the West, I'm back to the North. After that, now what do you have? How does it look? Are there any barriers in the way? And the next time around, it might be a few weeks, it might be a month. I do the same thing. So that's the ritual, as it were.
That's an incredibly intense visualization act. It's grounded. All the boxes, all the arenas have got so much space to create. It's both prescriptive and but it's not boundless, and so there's something holding everything together to allow it to be something that I guess on a day-to-day basis you can reach back to that activity, to those visualizations, and reconnect with and refocus, recenter for the day, for the week.
Mm-hmm. True. It can be very effective, especially when you write down what comes out of each of the little pieces and track it. Yep. It has served me well in the past.
Well, that was my next question. Do you write all that down and come back to it?
I have in the past. I haven't recently. I'd have to go back to exactly when. A lot of what was coming up was so harsh and needed so much burning that it just wore me out. I was just tired. And then I just went to a place where I was mostly doing day-to-day things, and it's sort of triage. So I've been in triage for far too long. If I was doing it the way I should, I would be a little more focused on not just getting through the next 36 hours without jumping off a bridge, or I'm not going to do anything to anybody else, mostly because I don't have weapons and don't believe in them. But there are times,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't felt them in a long time, but airports were the worst, John DeVille. When I did lots of travel in the 90s and early 2000s, I did a lot of organizing and traveling and spent a lot of time in airports. And, oh my God, white men are so obnoxious in airports. It's the worst. I have no idea now, because I haven't been in an airport now for maybe 5 years or more. But that, just the entitlement, the sense of entitlement.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's where we feel the privilege is just so reflected. It's not diffuse. I mean, yes, I'm here at the airport. I get to go on a plane, and
I got
all the
somewhere to
other
go. I'm important.
right, and
Yeah.
all the other unwashed, well, they don't. And if there's some people, there might be a few unwashed, but they're in coach, thank God. And I'm over here in the VIP club. I don't have to, and I also get to go through I don't have to go through all the demeaning and degrading cavity searches with TSA, because
Right.
I've got that pass too. Yeah, I get all everything in the caste system is so beautifully reified at the airport. So yeah, if you're not at the top of that caste pyramid, then yeah, it's got to be a really crappy place
Too
to
weird.
be.
It's too weird. And sometimes at hotels, but not really nice hotels. I don't go to those much anymore, because I only have gone to those when someone else is paying. I was on the board of a foundation for 7 years, and twice a year we'd have these face-to-face meetings in New York City. So I'd stay in Midtown Manhattan in very nice hotels that were obscenely expensive. And then you'd see people who, that was their norm, these kind of places. And they were tough to notice. It's not a class solidarity situation. even though it was a very progressive foundation, but not radical.
Yeah, and I think it's the my friend Louie and I had a conversation yesterday, and we're teasing out a lot of differences, I think, between progressivism and radical. And she's got no time for progressives.
We don't.
And I still haven't gotten all the way out of the soup. I describe myself, identify as a self-loathing for progressive, but in spite of my self-loathing, I've got a toe in it. Your definition of revolution, give me a little bit of clarity as to how I might finally bust out of that progressive cocoon.
Root causes.
Yeah,
that's one of the things is root causes, shared solutions, and building shared power, not power over, power with. Because progressive is like prejudice reduction, John.
Meaning that the prejudice still remains.
Hell yeah, it's just on a diet. I don't care. You can get that motherfucker coming up.
But I don't know if you got to listen to the first podcast, which was on eugenics and the progressive role in eugenics. I mean, the title of the podcast, Eugenics, the Dark Side of American Progressivism. And Lily's like, that's kind of a stupid title. It's all dark.
All of progressivism?
Yeah.
Well, for some people, it may have been, you've got, when it comes to transformation, you do have to take people where they are. And for some people, if something like being a liberal, you're a liberal first, you're a mainstream Democrat, and then you think of yourself as a liberal. I don't know what a liberal actually is. Someone who doesn't overtly have a negative reaction when they in the minority at a place and everybody else is black or brown. I don't know what a liberal is. But if we didn't have the terms like liberal and then progressive is a little step more to the left than liberal, I think. And progressive means, at least in your mind, I don't think this is really what progressives do, but I think they think of themselves as dismantling the systems of oppression, starting to do some systemic change. But, what's feasible for now? Let's do it a little bit at a time.
I'll take it another step.
And lobby the Senate. So to me, that's progressive. I'm not trying to be insulting, but
I don't think it's insulting at all. I mean, I the way I would trace it out is that I'm the savior. We got savior complexes, and that inherently is disempowering. Because if I see you as persistently drowning and I'm the persistent lifeguard, then we're never going to be on equal footing. It's never shared. It's never equal. It's never co-created. We're never celebrating in the Latin sense. The caste system, the dynamics are always screwed up.
Always beholden to you.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I would really like for you to recognize, the nice things that I've done to save you. And your friends. I mean, and I don't understand why you're just not more. Where's the gratitude? Where's the gratitude? Where's the gratitude? And back to liberals. I'll give you my favorite.
Liberals have that too. Liberals are more like, I'm gonna not be actively offended at your gayness or your transgenderness, and that is, that is them. That's them going far. They think they're doing a lot by allowing you to exist without my harshing your reality.
I didn't say anything mean to George today.
I'm doing a lot of ways covertly. Yeah, it's okay if you don't have, a living wage. It's okay if you live in shitty housing. It's okay if you don't have health care. I'm okay with that. But your kids can go to school with my kids, even though. We've seen how that plays out, and they don't.
That's one area that I think I know my stats. We'll talk against charter schools and vouchers, but when it really comes down to, I'm going to send my white kid to a school that is 75% people of color, that ain't going to happen. It does happen, but that is definitely an exception. That's just, you can see it in Nashville. It's a perfect place. There's these really cool charter schools, and they're all white. or almost all white. They're not, and they shop at Whole Foods and they listen to NPR. But and you know what NPR stands for, don't you? It stands for Nice Polite Republicans.
Nice Polite Republicans?
Yeah. There you go.
Man. Well, I can
It used to. Now it used to. Back when there were such things as Nice Polite Republicans, but I think starting with Newt Gingrich, there has been an eradication program, and it's hard to find. They're out there, but it becomes harder. All right, what do you think about moving on to the Langston Hughes and Let America Be America again?
Well, it's going to put me in a slightly less groovy mood. So let's see. I don't know what year. Oh, he wrote this. No, I don't know what year he wrote.
He wrote it in 36.
Really?
Yep. Looked it up twice. 36.
That's a bummer that it's that old. I'll be doing we're going to be doing a participatory reading of Martin Luther King's Beyond Vietnam on Monday, the day of his assassination. And that's one that's a bummer that it's 55 years since doing that, and it's so real now. So this is 36, which is even older, and the bummer is that it's just so real. Okay, there I go. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America was never America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that good, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath. But opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant, clutching the hope I seek, and only finding the same old stupid plan. Dog eat dog, mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work, of the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bownsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today, despite the dream, beaten yet today, oh, pioneers. I am the man who never got ahead, poorest worker, battered through the years. But I am the one who dreamed of facing in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamed a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings. Every brick and stone and every furrow turned. That's why America's the land it has become. Oh, the man who has sailed those early seas in search of what meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark island shore, and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. Free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, all the dreams we dreamed, all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held, and all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dreams that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, a land that never has been yet. yet must be. The land where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hands at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me an ugly name you choose. Feel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again. America. Oh yes, say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the wreck and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again.
Root causes.
Right.
What hit me in reading that one was the optimism, in spite of everything, the relentless optimism. Where does that come from? 3 segments from Nikole Hannah-Jones' opening essay in 1619. There's a first paragraph, final paragraph, and the middle one. And to me, it mirrors the sentiments of Langston Hughes. My dad always flew an American flag in our front yard. The blue paint on our 2-story house was perennially chipping. The fence or the rail by the stairs or the front door existed in a perpetual state of disrepair. That flag always flew pristine. Our corner lot, which had been redlined by the federal government, was along the river that divided the black side of town from the white side of our Iowa town. At the edge of our lawn, high an aluminum pole, soared the flag, which my dad would replace as soon as it showed the slightest tatter. And so a middle paragraph, without the idealistic, strenuous, and patriotic efforts of Black Americans, our democracy today would most likely look very different. It might not be a democracy at all. The very first person to die for this country in the American Revolution was a black man who himself was not free. Crispus Attucks was a fugitive from slavery, yet he gave his life for a new nation in which his own people would not enjoy the liberties laid out in the Declaration for another century. In every war this nation has waged since that first one, Black Americans have fought. Today, we are the most likely of all racial groups to serve in the United States military. Final section. When I was a child, I must have been in the 5th or 6th grade, a teacher gave us an assignment intended to celebrate the diversity of the great American melting pot. She instructed each of us to write a short report on our ancestral land and then draw that nation's flag. As she turned to write the assignment on the board, the other black girl in the class locked her eyes with me. Slavery had erased any connection we had to an African country, and even if we tried to claim the whole continent, there was no African flag. It was hard enough being one of 2 black kids in the class, and this assignment would be just another reminder of the distance between the white kids and us. In the end, I walked over to the globe near my teacher's desk, picked a random African country, and claimed it as my own. I wish now that I could go back to the younger me and tell her that her people's ancestry started here, on these lands, to go back to language, these United States. Started here on these lands to boldly, proudly draw the stars and those stripes of the American flag. We were told once, by virtue of our bondage, that we could never be American. But it was by virtue of our bondage that we became the most American of all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can you send me that reference, please?
Yeah,
sir?
I'll send you the whole. It's in the opening segment of 1619. But I'll send you that broken out. Sure.
Yes, I haven't gotten the whole thing. I don't know if I ever will, frankly, because there's just some stuff I'm not ready for. I try, and there's not enough resilience exercises, and PTSD recovery processes.
There's that, which I obviously can't connect to on the same way and level that you do, but I'm coming at it from a utilitarian perspective. How much more do we need to know? How many more photographs, vignettes, reports, statistics do we need to know of the spiritual and physical destruction? Okay,
Right.
we've chronicled it. Okay, now it's time to do something. And every moment that we're reading yet another history book or an article, a monograph, that's again, I know for you, because when you've been in the book in the class seminars that I've done, this it wears you out. And I've had other people, I've had white folks. I mean, I've one student very vividly. God, this stuff is just so depressing. It's so depressing. It's so depressing. I'm like, yeah, it's depressing. And, and it made me think, okay, to what end? I mean, I think there's utility in, in having your core shaken and coming to, to use the phrase, facing the history. But, I think there's a point where you stop facing and you start walking and start doing.
Well, there you go.
And
so how much is what does compel action?
Right.
And consistent action, and action with accountability, consistency, and transparency. And then you practice, even the practice I talked about from north to west. It's like, okay, look at what we've got. What's not working? What's in the way? Okay, now shift. Now, what do we want to create? What's missing that we need to bring into being? Okay, that works. So now shift. What's underneath what we're doing? What's beneath it? If we dig under what we're doing, what will we see? What will we get? Can we bring to the surface to help us create what we want? And what do we need to let go of? What's in the way? What's not working for us? Okay, let's think about all that. Oh, now, what do we need to completely burn? And just burn the shit out of it so it's gone forever, and then look at what we have left and will it work for us? And if you're not motivated to move, then read some more 1619 until you move to action. To me, that's the best. There's no good thing about trauma and pain, but when you're moved to change and transform what is, because I'm one of the people who don't believe in blame or shame, because I think it's stupid. Guilt and all that stuff, I think it's all stupid. So if something moves you to not feel good in your gut and deep in your belly, do something to change whatever it was. You see somebody laying on the sidewalk and it doesn't feel so good, go buy them a bag of groceries. Yes, that's not going to solve their problem forever, but they can eat for a few days. Or, check somebody into the Motel 6 for a week. It's that recognizing the humanity in everybody, John, that helps us get to a place where we are collectively transforming what is. And it's really ultimate Christian stuff or ultimate Jewish stuff or Buddhist stuff. But, that's what's up.